Hello children and young people, this is a video specifically today for my adolescents. So if you're in secondary school, if you're aged between kind of 11 to maybe 18, something like that, then this video is just for you. If you're younger than that, you don't need to be here today. I'll see you next month in a Christmas jumper. But for everyone who is aged between the age of 11 and 18 years, I want to talk to you about adolescence, and I'm going to give you a really realistic picture today of what that is like as an experience, because I can guarantee you one thing: adolescence sucks in many ways, and you're going to be feeling a whole host of unwanted feelings throughout adolescence. So I'm going to share with you some examples of this confusing period of time, and I'm going to let you know which ones of those you need to worry about, which ones of those you don't really need to worry about at all, and that's what we're doing today. So if you'd like to know more about which bits of adolescence you really need to be worrying about, then just keep on watching. Alright, let's talk about adolescence. This is a very confusing time, mainly because your body is going through one of the biggest bursts in growth that you will ever experience in your life. You've had big bursts of growth before when you were tiny, but you don't remember those ones. This one, you're going to be fully aware of it. And the transition from being a child to being an adult isn't all smooth sailing. There are a lot of different things that can crop up during this period of time, and it really isn't terribly helpful that some bright spark decided this is when you should have your most important exams, plan out the rest of your life. All of those things happen at the same time as your brain growing, your body growing, hormones kicking in, and your emotions being all over the place. So if you're a little bit confused at this moment in time about who you are, how you're feeling, and what you want to do, then this is the video for you. So let's talk first about one of the things that you'll all be aware of. This isn't something that's going to apply to everybody, but you will have heard about it, and it may have even caused you to have some questions for yourself, because it's happening a lot at this moment in time, more than it ever really has in human history, that adolescents are questioning their gender identity. And some of them are uncertain whether their gender identity is the right one for them or not. Now, this may be you, it may not apply to you, but I'm certain that you will know someone who is in a situation like this. Now, if you have ever felt like you are not sure about your identity and your gender as you're going through this stage of adolescence, the good news is that is completely normal. It's completely normal for you to feel a little bit out of sync with your body and the changes that your body is going through as you move through adolescence. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are the wrong gender. Now, for some people, it will mean that, but it's very, very few people that this really applies to. And most people, more than 80% of them, so more than 80% of young people who question their gender identity during adolescence, later on realise, actually, I was the right gender the whole time. Some of them aren't, and they do go through more of a transitioning process. But the vast majority of them, by the time adolescence has finished, realise, no, I was in the right body the whole time. It's just that your body is going through some weird stuff and some changes, and it doesn't look great necessarily during adolescence. You know, things are growing and changing and moving and lumpy and bumpy, and all of those sorts of things are happening all at the same time. So it's not an unusual thing to feel dissatisfied with overall how your body looks, or to feel uncomfortable with the way in which your gender identity is playing out. That is completely normal. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything needs to change. A lot of the time, it just means give it a bit more time. Adolescence will finish. And at that stage, you'll start feeling more comfortable in yourself. Now, in the same way, some people throughout adolescence start to wonder about their sexual identity. So they start to wonder whether they're attracted to boys, girls, both, neither. And again, any of those things could be the right answer for you. And if you are currently unsure as to which of those labels might apply to you, which of those categories you fall into, guess what? When you're going through adolescence, it's completely fine to be feeling totally unsure about it and to really not know. You do not have to set anything in stone here. You do not have to make a final decision on this. Not yet. So, or necessarily at any time in the future, to be quite honest. So it's completely normal to feel confused about these things. Some people aren't confused at all, and that's okay too. But many people are, and that is just part of adolescence. There's an awful lot about adolescence that's a bit weird and a bit confusing. So if you're feeling that way, just know you're in the right place. You're in adolescence. If you feel dissatisfied with how you look, how things look on you, what your hair is doing, that your teeth still look too big for your face, or any of those sorts of things. That's completely normal. That is also all part of adolescence. Feeling like your arms are too long, or that, things just aren't growing at the right speed, in the right places, at the right time, in the right proportions. That's all part of adolescence too. If you're experiencing thoughts or feelings in that way, it is just a period of time. It's not going to be the best period of time of your life. I can guarantee you that much. But eventually you'll come out of it and things will start to balance out and be exactly as they are meant to be. You will discover what your style is. You will discover that there are ways in which you can take care of your body that make it better than perhaps it might be looking and feeling at the moment. All of these things will start to make sense. But adolescence is the weird, confusing time where, quite honestly, not an awful lot of things seem to make sense at all. So, on that note, if you are currently feeling completely uncertain about what it is that you're supposed to be doing with your life, and maybe under some pressure to make decisions about that, but you really don't know what direction you want to go in, guess what? That's just adolescence. It's completely normal to not have direction. In fact, there's lots of adults who don't really have an awful lot of direction in life as well. And you may decide upon one thing and then later find that you change your mind. Now, the good news is that these days, if you are thinking about your future career, it doesn't mean that you're going to be stuck doing that job for the next 50 years of your working life. Let's face it, probably 60 years of your working life. And you can change. People change all the time. In the olden days, if you were a secretary, you were probably going to be a secretary for your whole life. If you were an electrician, you were going to be an electrician for your whole life. People used to stay in the jobs that they were in. But you don't have to do that so much anymore. There are lots of other opportunities and ways for you to learn. So if you are not sure what it is that you want to be when you're grown up, don't worry about it. That is just part of adolescence. The confusion is normal. And alongside that, if you're unsure which exams you should be taking, which subjects you should be looking at, and thinking, oh, which of these are going to be most useful to me when I am 57 and and I'm working and raising a family. Honestly, but by the time you reach that age, you really won't care what exams you picked for GCSEs and A-levels. It's really not going to be relevant by that stage. Now, is it important that you do your best and you make good decisions when you can? Absolutely. But if you feel like that, if you feel as if you haven't quite got it pinned down properly. And you're making decisions just because you need to make decisions, but not necessarily because they're the right and most well thought through decisions. That's okay too, because this is just adolescence. It's going to make your brain foggy. You're not going to be able to think about the whole rest of your life whilst you're simultaneously going through the experience of having your body sprouting in all sorts of different ways and your emotions and hormones wobbling about all over the place. So just do your best. Give everything your absolute best shot. Work with what you've got, and everything else will fall into place a little bit later. And finally, on the note of emotions wobbling about all over the place, if you right now feel as if you are not as in control of your emotions as you would like to be, perhaps you get tearful too easily, angry too easily, anxious too easily, all of those things could just be part of adolescence. It could just be where your body is growing and hormones are firing off at really inappropriate moments, making you feel sorts of things that are not useful for you to be feeling at that particular time. And it doesn't necessarily mean that anything is wrong with you. This is what adolescence looks like. It is a tricky, confusing time, and you do not need to have everything figured out just yet. If you are uncertain about yourself, who you are, where you're going next in life, who you want to be with, who you want to be around, it's completely fine to not have all those answers right now. And it doesn't mean that the right thing to do is going to be to pin everything on a firm decision that is the opposite of who you currently are. Just because you feel uncomfortable with who you are right now, it doesn't mean the opposite to that is the right thing either. The chances are you're probably absolutely fine exactly as you are. It just feels weird at the moment because of the adolescence. And if you do a complete 180 and change everything about yourself, that's not necessarily going to make you feel any better either. My suggestion is to ride out the adolescence before you make any firm decisions around changing significant things about yourself, because the likelihood is that most of what you're uncomfortable with will start to settle down with time. Enjoy your adolescence. I feel like I've really sold it to you here. Listen, there's a lot of great stuff that happens in adolescence. Some of the funniest things that will ever happen to you in your life will happen during your adolescence. And you'll make some of the best friends that you ever have. You know, some of you will make friends for life during this period of time. It really is an opportunity for you to try out different ways of being to see what works for you. So there's a lot of fun to be had during adolescence as well. It's not all doom and gloom, but it is a confusing time. And just know that all of that confusion will pass with time. You just need to be patient. So enjoy your adolescence. I hope it passes smoothly and easily for you. And I will see you all in the next video. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, click the red subscribe button. Give this one a thumbs up. You cannot comment because you just can't, as the children and young people ones, but you can click the notifications bell so that you get notified the next time I upload another video for you. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.